My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 63 fight card, giving you my DraftKings picks and plays. Before I jump in, head on over to WeWantPicks.com and become a premium member. If you are a DraftKings player, premium membership is going to get you a DraftKings optimizer. It will be pre-populated every single Friday afternoon with the ownership projections, the points scoring projections, and all sorts of other data. You click a few buttons and it will build a lineup for you. It'll build 150 lineups for you. We also have DraftKings ownership. We also rank every single fighter by salary in the player pools, and we give you our biggest fade, our biggest lock, our best underdog play, and our best favorites play for every single fight and fighter. That's WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's literally $10 a month. That's $2.50 a week. Access to the optimizer alone is worth more than that. So head on over, hop in, get that taken care of. And we did have some successes in our community for UFC 280. This big box here, that's Frank Jodoon. Frank Jodoon is a writer for WeWantPicks.com. He does a quick picks article. He does a betting article, recaps, all sorts of content from Frank over there at WeWantPicks.com. And he had an optimal lineup for UFC 280. It scored 687 points. A lot of people had that lineup, but he did win $84 there, so good for Frank. And then we also had another submission. Deflategate sent this over to us. He won $4,200 almost with the exact same optimal lineup. So a lot of you guys did really well this past week. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to Deflategate, to Frank, and everybody else. And guys, don't forget, we do $50 giveaways. All you need to do is screenshot your lineup with your We Want Picks profile picture, tweet it to us, and we'll enter you to win the $50 giveaway. Guys, congratulations. More success this weekend. Let's jump into this card, so hopefully I can help you make some money. So let's go ahead and jump into this UFC Vegas 63 card. We have 3 different videos on this channel breaking down every single fight in excruciating detail. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to work through this card quickly, give you my pick, who should be in your drafting lineup, and why. If you want more details and you want to dig in and you want all that other information, check out my video, Jacob's video, or the combined video where we really give each other a hard time on their picks. But they finally just added Christian Rodriguez and Josh Weems on this card. Christian Rodriguez, he's coming up that loss to Jonathan Pierce. $9,400 is a lot of money to spend. He's a massive favorite here. I do think he wins this fight. The problem is he's fighting Josh Weems, who is making his UFC debut. He is stepping up on short notice, like stupid short notice, just a couple of days. He's got a couple of wins on the regional scene. Before that, he lost on the Contender Series to Fernie Garcia. Listen, he's a busy striker. He uses his kicks really well. He comes charging in. He is a dangerous fighter. He's a pretty skilled fighter. I do think Christian Rodriguez absolutely wins this fight. I think he does it with his grappling, because if we go back here, you see he did have 2 takedowns. He was taken down 8 times in that fight, but he got 2 takedowns of his own. Man, I think Christian wins. I would have loved to see him at a little bit more of affordable price. So I don't know if I'm going to have him in my lineup at $9,400. It's a weird card, so he may end up in there. But Christian Rodriguez absolutely gets the win, and that is the name of this game. Then we got Cody Durden taking on Carlos Mata. Cody Durden is a nasty wrestler, $7,700. He is an underdog. I do think he wins this fight. I will be having him in my lineup at that underdog money, because he's taking on Carlos Mata, another UFC newcomer, another guy stepping up on short notice. Carlos Mata is very good. He's a very good fighter. He belongs in the UFC, but this is stupid short notice, and I think Cody Durden pushing that wrestling game plan can really score points for him, can really exhaust Carlos Mata coming into this. So I like Durden. I like him at underdog money in that spot. Then we got Steve Garcia taking on Chase Hooper. This is another tricky one. Listen, I think Chase Hooper wins this fight, but Steve Garcia is more live than people are giving him credit for, and he's a great price at $7,000. He was not submitted by Luis Pena in this short notice up a weight class fight. I know people think Chase Hooper's just going to come in here and submit Steve Garcia, and Chase Hooper looked great in his last fight. But the reality is Steve Garcia is pretty tough, decent submission defense. I like Chase Hooper to win the fight. I do think he will win this fight. He has shown improvements, and we see this here in takedowns. His last 2 fights, he worked in some takedowns. This is Steve Peterson here. Steve Peterson is just a grizzled guy. He's not great anywhere, but he won that fight by staying tough, not getting submitted, and working through control and stuff like that. Listen, I think Chase Hooper wins this fight. $9,200, I don't know. I placed a bet on him win inside the distance decision, no action, because, even if Chase loses, he's not going to get finished. He's proven how tough he is. Man, this is another tough one. $9,200, a lot of money to spend. I know you guys are super high on him. You think he absolutely dominates and gets a finish. I'm not so convinced, but I do think he will do well, and I think he will win that fight. So, frankly, you need some of those expensive guys in there, and he may be one of them. Then we have Jun Young Park taking on Joseph Holmes. Jun Young Park, I do think, wins this fight. I think he wins it with the takedowns and the control. He has proven 2 takedowns, 4 takedowns, 5 takedowns, that he can work in takedowns. This Eric Anders fight, he won that fight. A lot of people think he lost that fight. He was actually taken down 3 times. A lot of people think he lost that fight. $9,300 is absurd, stupid. Do not spend that money. Joseph Holmes, on the other hand, probably worth the 6,900 spot, because I don't see Jun Young Park finishing him. He's not dangerous at all. He's not going to knock him out. He doesn't have the submissions to get that done. Joseph Holmes looked very good against Alan Amedovski. He had a knockdown, a takedown, and ultimately the submission. He's super long. He doesn't use his length well striking. He can use it in his grappling. So I think Joseph Holmes makes this a competitive fight. I think the takedowns will be the difference. So I think Jun Young Park will probably get the takedowns, probably win the fight. You need underdogs. Joseph Holmes at 6,900 is great value. I don't necessarily think he wins. I like Cody Durden to win in the underdog spot. But I think Joseph Holmes is live in this fight, and that's a very good price point for somebody as dangerous as him. He's by far the more dangerous fighter. Then we got Marcos Rogerio De Lima. He's taking on UFC legend Andre Arlovski. Another tough spot here, because Rogerio De Lima is going to be the more dangerous fighter. He's going to hit a lot harder. He can get takedowns, and we just watched Andre Arlovski get taken down 3 times. The problem is, if Rogerio gets taken down, he doesn't have much to offer. And this fight here against Blagoy Ivanov, he lost because he was pushed against the cage and held there. And Andre Arlovski can do exactly that. Andre Arlovski is a grizzled vet who knows how to win fights. He knows how to win decisions. He won this decision against Collier that a lot of people think he lost. He was taken down 3 times, and I think he was outstruck as well. So, listen, I think Rogerio De Lima is going to win, and I think there's a good possibility he wins by stoppage. Andre Arlovski's 43 years old. His chin has found second life. It actually looks very solid, but just a couple of years ago, his chin was not solid, and he was getting knocked out by light heavyweights moving up. So frankly, Andre Arlovski can win this fight with control time, but I think Rogerio De Lima does win the fight. I think he can win by stoppage, and if not, I do think he works in some takedowns, because we just saw Collier have some success with that. So pick your spot here. Andre Arlovski is not a good DraftKings guy, even as a favorite. 69, 57, 63, 74. And that's with 30-point win bonuses. So even as a favorite, he's not a good DraftKings play. So I would not play him as an underdog here. And Rogerio, if you agree, you think he's going to get that stoppage, throw him in your lineup. Phil Hawes versus Roman Dolidze. Great price point here. Phil Hawes will be in my lineup. This is fantastic money for somebody like him. And I know you're watching this saying, well, he's chinny. And yes, Chris Curtis knocked him out. You're right. But go watch that fight. And I get it. He was knocked out, somewhat early. But he was winning those striking exchanges against somebody who was supposed to be the much better striker. And he did get knocked out. But Chris Curtis hits like a freight train. We know that now. That Duran Win fight, it was a straight-up striking clinic. And then he ended up getting the stoppage there. Phil Hawes is a phenomenal wrestler. Just a literally world-class wrestler. And a freak athlete. He has proven that he has cardio. He has shown that his striking is very good. I mean, how could you not go with Phil Hawes here? I totally understand that Roman Dolidze has now hits like a truck. He comes in, reckless abandon, swinging wild. Roman Dolidze, a world champion grappler. I get that. If he ends up on top of Phil Hawes, he can give Phil Hawes some trouble. But how does he get on top? He's not going to take down Phil Hawes. He's just not going to do it. Can he knock Phil Hawes out? Abso-freaking-lutely he can. He hits very, very hard, and Phil's chin, is not granite. I think Phil does what he wants to do with the striking. I think he gets takedowns if he wants them. He keeps it standing if he wants to. Phil Hawes wins this fight. If you're on the other side, then grab Roman Dolidze. This is a great price for both guys. Phil Hawes is now a minus 270-something favorite. And you can get him at $8,400 in DraftKings. He's going to be in my lineup. I think he should be in yours as well. Dustin Jacoby, Khalil Roundtree. Dustin Jacoby, best value on this entire card. This is going to be striker versus striker. And Dustin Jacoby is literally, was a professional kickboxer ranked number 2 in the world at one point. Dustin Jacoby just showed us what kind of power he has. Everybody was worried about Jung's power. Dustin Jacoby's the one who got the knockout there. And ever since he left the UFC, so he was in the UFC in 2012, left, went to professional kickboxing. Ever since he's come back in 2020, all wins. This Kutalaba was a draw. He got taken down 8 times in that fight. 8 times he was taken down in that fight. And he still pulled out a draw because his striking is just so freaking good and his get-up game is solid as well. So listen, Dustin Jacoby, $8,300 will be in my lineup. I fully recognize Khalil Roundtree is dangerous as hell. Knockout. But also the losses, knockout. He's kill or be killed for the most part. I get he's dangerous, and somebody who hits as hard as he does and as fast as he is can absolutely get this done, but I got to go with the better striker in a striker versus striker matchup. I got to do it. Guys. Josh Freem taking on Tresean Gore. This is a tricky fight because Josh Freem is an athletic guy. He doesn't really have any true MMA background. He wasn't a wrestler, but he's very athletic. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. He comes forward, stays busy. If you go watch his LFA fights, he had a bunch of success there. He's coming off this loss to Fluffy Hernandez, but keep in mind it was short notice, a UFC debut, and Fluffy Hernandez is a very, very good grappler. And Josh was able to get a sweep and a takedown in that fight, and he racked up 3.5 minutes of control time against the far superior grappler. He's taking on Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore, listen, before the UFC, the dude was an active striker who worked in takedowns. If he didn't get the takedown, he went back to his striking and then reset. In the UFC, he's a low-volume guy who just will not let his hands go. This loss to Brian Battle, with just a tiny bit more output, that's a win. But he's just so frustrating to watch because he's talented, he's athletic, and he's fast, and he's got the skills, and he just doesn't do anything with it. So I have no reason to believe that all of a sudden Tresean Gore is going to come out and let his hands fly. Pushing pressure, shooting, takedown. I have no reason to think that that's who he's going to be now. So I got to go with Josh Freem here. Tresean Gore is the more well-rounded, talented fighter here, but he doesn't use all of his tools. If you think that this is the fight where he's going to show up, then get him. $7,500, absolutely get him. I trust Josh Freem, $8,700. Honestly, probably solid price point. Cortez Acosta, or Waldo Cortez Acosta, making his UFC debut, $9,000. Put him in your lineup. He probably knocks out Jared Vanderaa. Jared Vanderaa is a pretty tough guy. We hadn't really seen him get just smoked, knocked out on his feet. But Chase Sherman did that, and Chase Sherman doesn't hit very hard. Poor guy's got 4 losses in a row, but keep in mind, the Romanov fight, he stepped up to save the day. Olenek, I believe he stepped up to save the day there as well. The guy stepped up on multiple occasions to help save a card, and, unfortunately it hasn't paid off for him. But this Arlovski loss, a lot of people think he won that fight. He outstruck him, had control time, and then this Taffa win looked fantastic. Justin Taffa hits like a truck, and he danced around him, landed 121 significant strikes. So he looked good in that, but I think Waldo Cortez puts him out. And I feel bad because I've picked Justin Vanderaa a lot in the past. I like him quite a bit as a fighter. I think he's got potential, but just hasn't been working out. And somebody like Waldo who hits hard, moves well, probably going to get that done. Max Griffin, Tim Means. Listen, this is another tricky fight. Tim Means is kill or be killed. And people think Max is going to win this fight, which is why Max is $8,800. And if you think he finishes Tim Means, which is how Tim Means loses, then he should be in your lineup at $8,800. Coming off that loss to Neil Magny, that was a very, very close loss. He had a knockdown in that fight. Had some control time, ultimately was a step behind in the striking. That is ultimately the problem there, why he lost that fight. He can grapple if he needs to. He had the 4 takedowns against Morono, 6 against Imadev, and you can see earlier in his career, then he found some power, Brahimaj, Keenan, and all of a sudden he's looking for the power, not grappling that much. I do think Max Griffin wins. But Tim Means is a busy guy. He comes forward with a ton of volume, stays in your face, and he works in takedowns. He had 2 takedowns in Holland before getting submitted, 2 takedowns against Staropoli. Tim Means is very, very live. A lot of you love him as an underdog. If you believe in that, throw him in your lineup at $7,400. I think Max wins, but I don't trust him enough for my lineup, so no Max. Main event, Arnold Allen, Calvin Kattar. Look at this. Arnold Allen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins in the UFC, and nobody talked about him until this Dan Hooker fight. He's a very good striker, more of a counter striker, though. He can jump in, try to throw some power, but he's more of a counter striker. The Hooker fight was solid, but let's not forget, Hooker rocked Arnold Allen. Rocked him. And he's taking on Calvin Kattar. And listen, Calvin Kattar is coming off this loss to Josh Emmett. That was a decent loss. Honestly, the power of Josh Emmett was the difference. But Calvin Kattar is a very good striker, a very clean boxer. And when he can control the pace, meaning when he's coming forward, he wins those fights. The way you beat Calvin Kattar is you pressure him. That's how Emmett beat him. That's how Holloway beat him. And that's how, Zabit beat him. But that is not how Arnold Allen fights. Arnold Allen's more of a counter striker. Calvin Kattar's got tons of 5-round experience, not a guy that can be put out easily, a 90% takedown defense. I don't see Arnold Allen working in takedowns. I don't see Arnold Allen pushing that pace and then, pressuring his way to a win. That's not how that guy fights. So I like Calvin Kattar to get this done. He will be in my lineup at $8,000. There's a lot of you that love Arnold Allen, and frankly, that's a great price point for him as well. And guys, don't forget to head on over to WeWantPicks.com and become a premium member. Premium membership is only $10 a month, and it gets you the DraftKings Optimizer, which is fully populated every single Friday with the ownership projections and the points projected for each fighter. If you want to build your own lineup, you can enter your own data, or you can use all the other information we have for premium members, like player rankings, our favorite dog, our favorite, our best play, all of that information available to you at WeWantPicks.com for premium members. Only $10 a month. Sign up now.